Chosen one, be still. This message is not an accident. You've been wondering why the pressure increased, why the attacks became louder, why the betrayal came from the ones you loved, why the nights grew longer and lonelier. I saw it all. Every tear you wiped away in secret, every battle you fought without applause, every time you almost gave up but didn't. They thought they were breaking you. They thought isolation would weaken you. They thought the warfare would silence you, but they never knew I was building something inside of you. Something rare, something dangerous to darkness, something the world has never witnessed before. You felt different your whole life, misunderstood, targeted, set apart. That wasn't rejection, that was preparation. You are not crazy. You are not forgotten. You are not losing. You are being equipped. And now, the season of survival is ending. I am rewarding you with a power no system can control, no enemy can predict, no world can replicate. Stay here, because what I'm about to release through you will shock everyone. Chosen one, listen carefully. The rejection you endured was never a mistake. It was a sign. You cried because they left. You questioned yourself because they misunderstood you. You tried to shrink, to adjust, to become easier to accept. But I did not design you to fit into ordinary spaces. From the beginning, there was something different about you. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you see beyond what others notice. You were never comfortable with shallow conversations or small dreams. You felt restless in rooms where everyone else felt satisfied, and they sensed it. They could not explain why your presence made them uneasy, why your silence spoke louder than their noise, why your standards exposed their compromise. So they pushed you out. They called you too much, too intense, too emotional, too ambitious, too spiritual, too different. But what they called too much was actually the measure of what I placed inside you. You were not rejected because you were unworthy. You were rejected because you carry weight. Ordinary spaces cannot contain extraordinary purpose. If they had embraced you fully, you might have settled there. If they had celebrated you early, you might have mistaken comfort for calling. If they had understood you, you might have dimmed your light to stay accepted. So I allowed the rejection, not to wound you, but to redirect you. Every closed door was protection. Every betrayal was separation. Every lonely night was preparation. You thought you were losing people, but I was removing limitations. You thought you were being excluded, but I was preserving you from environments too small for your destiny. Chosen one, you were never created to blend in. You were created to shift atmospheres, to disrupt patterns, to carry vision where others carry fear. That is why you felt uncomfortable in places others called home. That is why success never satisfied you the way it satisfied them. That is why you always sensed there was more. Because there is. You are not called to ordinary conversations. You are not assigned to ordinary impact. You are not built for ordinary levels. The rejection was confirmation. It was evidence that your spirit did not belong in systems built on limitation. I separated you because what I am building in you requires space. It requires refinement. It requires depth. And depth cannot grow in crowds that celebrate surface living. You are not behind. You are being formed. One day, you will walk into rooms that once rejected you, and you will not feel bitterness. you will feel clarity. Because you will finally understand they were never meant to hold you. The spaces that could not contain you will watch from a distance as you step into arenas designed for your calling. And you will no longer try to fit, you will stand, fully, boldly, unapologetically. Because you will know what the rejection was really saying. You were never ordinary. You were chosen one. You felt it, didn't you? The sudden resistance, the strange attacks, the pressure that seemed to rise the moment you decided to grow. It wasn't random. The warfare around you intensified because your destiny threatens dark systems. When you were unaware of who you are, the battle was quiet. When you doubted yourself, the opposition was patient. But the moment you began to awaken, the moment you started praying differently, thinking differently, believing differently, everything shifted. Doors that once opened easily became heavy. People who once supported you grew distant. Small problems turned into unexpected storms. And you asked me, why is it getting harder? Because you are getting closer. Dark systems do not panic over ordinary lives. They do not mobilize against people who are content with limitation. They do not waste energy on those who pose no threat. But you carry disruption. Your voice carries freedom. Your growth breaks patterns. Your obedience exposes hidden corruption. Your healing threatens cycles that have existed for generations. That is why the battle grew louder. It was never about your weakness. It was about your potential. You thought you were under attack because you were failing. No, you were under attack because you were advancing. Every time you chose integrity over compromise, the pressure increased. Every time you refused to return to old habits, resistance intensified. Every time you stepped toward purpose, something tried to pull you back. Not because you are fragile, but because you are powerful. You must understand this. The intensity of warfare often reveals the magnitude of calling. If your destiny was small, the opposition would be small. If your impact were minor, the resistance would be minor. But what I placed inside you shifts atmospheres. You are not just surviving for yourself. You are breaking chains for others. You are confronting patterns your family accepted for decades. You are stepping into arenas where darkness once ruled unchecked. And darkness defends its territory. But hear me clearly. It can defend, it cannot win. The warfare was allowed to train you, to sharpen you, to teach your hands endurance and your spirit authority. Every attack strengthened muscles you didn't know you had. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every setback built resilience. You are not being overwhelmed. You are being conditioned for dominion. The reason it felt like too much is because you were being prepared for more than most people ever carry. Chosen one, do not misinterpret resistance as rejection. It is confirmation. The enemy does not fight what belongs to him. He fights what threatens to take territory back. And you are taking territory back, so stand steady. The battle may be loud, but your destiny is louder. The pressure may be heavy, but your calling is heavier. The darkness may surround you, but it cannot extinguish what I ignited. You were never meant to avoid warfare. You were built to outlast it. And when this season ends, you will not just be stronger. You will be unstoppable. Chosen one. I saw the nights you stared at the ceiling in silence. The unanswered messages, the empty chairs, the friendships that slowly faded without explanation. You called it abandonment. You whispered, "Why am I always alone?" But hear me clearly. The isolation was not abandonment. It was divine separation for sacred preparation. I did not remove you to punish you. I removed you to protect what I placed inside you. There are seasons when crowds feel comforting. Laughter is loud. Conversations are constant. Distractions are endless. But destiny cannot be shaped in noise. So I allowed the room to grow quiet. Not because you were unwanted, but because you were becoming. You thought you were losing connection. In reality, you were losing contamination. Some people could walk with you in your beginning, but they could not survive your becoming. Their mindset was too small, their vision too limited, their loyalty too fragile. If they had stayed, they would have diluted your focus. If they had remained, they would have slowed your obedience. If they had continued, they would have reshaped your calling into something safer. And you were never called to safe. Isolation is where identity is forged. It is where your voice becomes clear, where your dependence shifts from people to me, where your confidence stops being fed by applause and starts being anchored in purpose. I needed you away from familiar faces so you could recognize your true face, away from expectations so you could discover your assignment, away from noise so you could hear instruction. You cried because you felt forgotten, but I was closer in isolation than you ever felt in the crowd. Every lonely night strengthened your spirit. Every silent morning sharpened your discernment. Every empty weekend built endurance in your soul. You were not being hidden because you lacked value. You were being hidden because you carried weight. Precious things are refined in private. Before elevation comes separation. Before influence comes intimacy. Before public impact comes private preparation. You kept asking when the doors would open, but I was building the version of you that could walk through them without collapsing. Isolation teaches what popularity never can. It teaches discipline. It teaches self-awareness. It teaches resilience. It strips away performance. It removes false validation. It exposes what truly matters. And in that sacred quiet, you began to heal, to think, to grow, slowly, deeply, powerfully. You are not behind. You are being prepared for rooms that require strength you didn't yet possess. And when you step back into community, it will not be from desperation. It will be from clarity. You will no longer beg to belong. You will know where you are assigned. Chosen one, the isolation was not a sentence. It was a sanctuary, a sacred space where I built you without interruption. And when this season ends, you will not fear being alone, because you will understand you were never alone. You were being prepared for something holy. Chosen one, I saw the tears you refused to let anyone see, the ones that fell in the dark, the ones you wiped away quickly when footsteps passed by, the ones that soaked your pillow while you whispered, "I'm tired." You thought those tears were weakness. You thought they were proof that you were breaking. But every silent tear became fuel for a supernatural level of strength. Not one drop was wasted. When they misunderstood you and you stayed quiet, when they accused you and you chose restraint, when you carried responsibilities no one acknowledged, and then cried alone, I was there. You see tears as surrender. I see them as release. Every tear carried pain out of you so power could enter. Every cry emptied fear so courage could take its place. Every trembling moment made room for resilience. You thought you were falling apart. You were being rebuilt. There is a strength the world understands, loud, aggressive, unemotional. But that is not the strength I was forming in you. I was building depth, endurance, unshakable faith that doesn't depend on applause. Your silent tears softened your heart without making it fragile. They made you compassionate without making you weak. They gave you empathy without stealing your authority. Pain has a way of either hardening a soul or refining it. You chose to stay soft, to stay hopeful, to keep believing even when it hurt. That choice built power inside you. There were nights you wanted to quit, moments you questioned your worth, days when the pressure felt unfair. But you didn't collapse. You cried. And then you stood back up. That is strength. The kind that cannot be manufactured, the kind that cannot be taught in comfort, the kind that only comes from surviving storms quietly. Every betrayal you cried over sharpened your discernment. Every rejection you wept through strengthened your identity. Every disappointment that broke your heart expanded your capacity. You were stretching, growing, becoming. Tears are not a sign that you are losing. They are evidence that you care deeply, that you feel deeply, that you are alive in a world that tries to numb everything. I did not allow you to cry so you could drown in sorrow. I allowed it so the pressure inside you would not explode. What you released in tears, I transformed into fortitude. What you poured out in sorrow, I returned as stability. What you thought weakened you became the foundation of authority you now carry. People see your calm now. They see your confidence. They see how you handle situations without panic. They don't see the nights you trained for this. The silent tears were training. They taught you how to endure without recognition, how to trust without visible evidence, how to hope when logic said stop. That is supernatural strength, not loud, not boastful, not arrogant, but steady, unmovable, grounded, chosen one. The tears did not disqualify you. They qualified you because you did not allow pain to turn you bitter. You allowed it to turn you stronger. And now, what once made you cry will soon bow to the power you carry, chosen one. You remember the moment you thought it was over, the betrayal that crushed your trust, the failure that humiliated your confidence, the attack that came from nowhere and hit you where you were weakest. You felt shattered. You wondered how much more you could take. You questioned your strength. You questioned your calling. You even questioned me. But what tried to break you was unknowingly building your spiritual authority. The pressure was not designed to destroy you. It was forging you. Authority is not given to the untested. Power is not handed to the unproven. Influence is not entrusted to the unrefined. You were being refined. Every time they lied about you and you chose integrity, your authority grew. Every time you were tempted to retaliate but remained disciplined, your authority deepened. Every time you were knocked down and decided to rise again, instead of surrendering to bitterness, your authority expanded. You thought you were barely surviving. In reality, you were being promoted. The very situations that embarrassed you were teaching you humility. The moments that exposed your weaknesses were teaching you dependence. The losses that emptied your hands were making space for greater responsibility. Spiritual authority is not loud. It is not flashy. It is quiet confidence born from surviving storms. When you've faced chaos and remained standing, your presence changes. When you've walked through fire and come out without hatred, your words carry weight. When you've endured isolation and didn't lose your identity, your spirit becomes grounded. You don't have to announce authority. It radiates. The attacks were necessary because comfort would have kept you small. If life had been easy, you would not have discovered your endurance. If everyone had supported you, you would not have developed discernment. If every door had opened smoothly, you would not have learned how to push through resistance. You were being trained in realms you couldn't see. Every attack strengthened your spiritual posture. Every disappointment taught you not to rely on unstable foundations. Every heartbreak deepened your compassion while sharpening your wisdom. What tried to break you underestimated what was inside you. It thought pressure would collapse you. Instead, pressure crystallized you. It thought loss would silence you. Instead, loss clarified you. It thought opposition would intimidate you. Instead, opposition awakened you. You are not the same person who entered that storm. You are steadier now, more discerning, more disciplined, less reactive, more intentional. That is authority. You carry a calm that confuses chaos. You carry a steadiness that unsettles instability. You carry a presence that shifts atmospheres without effort. And it was born in battle. Chosen one. Do not despise the trials that nearly broke you. They were building a foundation that cannot be shaken. When you step into your next season, you will not walk in timid. You will walk in trained, not fragile, but forged. Because what tried to end you only strengthened your command. And now, you don't just survive storms. You stand in them, and they move around you, chosen one. I heard every time you whispered, "Why not now?" I saw the frustration in your eyes when doors almost opened, and then quietly closed. I felt the heaviness in your chest when opportunities slipped through your fingers. You thought you were being overlooked. You thought you were behind. But the delay was protection. I was aligning power with your maturity. If I had given you then what you are asking for now, it would have crushed you. Not because you weren't gifted, not because you weren't chosen, but because you were still becoming. Power without maturity destroys. Influence without depth corrupts. Elevation without preparation collapses. You saw delay. I saw development. While you were waiting, I was shaping your character in unseen places. When recognition didn't come, humility grew. When applause was absent, discipline formed. When no one noticed your effort, integrity deepened. You were learning to stand without validation. That is maturity. There were attitudes I had to soften, impulses I had to refine, wounds I had to heal, because unhealed pain with great power becomes dangerous. You wanted the platform. I wanted your foundation solid. You wanted speed. I wanted stability. You wanted breakthrough. I wanted endurance. The waiting season was not empty. It was precise. Every delay filtered out people who would have attached themselves to your early success, but abandoned you under pressure. Every postponed opportunity strengthened your patience. Every closed door redirected you from environments that could not sustain your growth. You were being preserved. Do you know how many would have mishandled what is coming to you? How many would have lost themselves in pride? How many would have crumbled under expectation? How many would have compromised to maintain visibility? I could not allow that for you, so I slowed the process. Not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. The version of you that exists now is calmer, wiser, less reactive, more discerning. You no longer chase everything that glitters. You no longer panic when things don't move quickly. You no longer depend on constant affirmation. That is growth. That is alignment. The power coming to you requires stability. It requires someone who can handle criticism without collapsing. Someone who can handle praise without inflating. Someone who can stand alone if necessary and still remain grounded. You are becoming that person. The delay was not denial. It was design. I was synchronizing your inner strength with your outer assignment. Because when the moment arrives, and it will, it must not overwhelm you. It must not intoxicate you. It must not expose immaturity. It must reveal readiness. Chosen one, trust the timing. What is coming is heavy, and you are almost strong enough to carry it. When it arrives, you will not say, finally. You will say, now I understand, because you will realize the delay did not hold you back. It prepared you to hold what was always yours, chosen one. You have grown accustomed to waiting, to praying without immediate answers, to pushing forward without visible results, to sowing effort into soil that seemed silent. You have learned how to endure. But listen closely now. The breakthrough will be sudden, undeniable, and impossible to sabotage. For a long time it looked like nothing was happening. Quiet seasons, closed doors, slow progress. You questioned whether your faith was misplaced. You wondered if you misunderstood your assignment. You feared you had missed your moment. But what you could not see was movement beneath the surface. Roots were stretching deeper. Connections were aligning quietly. Circumstances were shifting in rooms you have never entered. You thought delay meant stagnation. It was preparation for acceleration. When I move, I do not move halfway. When I open, no human strategy can shut it. When I elevate, no opinion can demote. When I establish you, no rumor can destabilize. The breakthrough will not creep in timidly. It will arrive with clarity. Opportunities that once required chasing will begin to pursue you. Conversations that once excluded you will seek your presence. Rooms that once overlooked you will make space for you. And those who doubted will not be able to deny it. Not because you proved them wrong, but because the evidence will be undeniable. You endured sabotage attempts, misunderstandings, subtle opposition, hidden agendas. But what is orchestrated by me cannot be dismantled by insecurity. What is sealed by purpose cannot be destroyed by jealousy. You feared people had the power to block your destiny. They never did. They only revealed who could not travel with you. The breakthrough is not fragile. It is fortified. It is built on lessons learned in obscurity, on discipline developed in silence, on maturity forged through delay. That is why it cannot be sabotaged. You are no longer the same person who once panicked under pressure. You are steadier now. When acceleration comes, you will not lose yourself in excitement. When recognition increases, you will not compromise your integrity. When doors open widely, you will walk through them grounded. The breakthrough will be swift because the preparation was thorough. There will be a moment, and it will feel almost surreal, when everything shifts. One call, one meeting, one decision, one confirmation, and what felt impossible for years will move in weeks. What resisted for months will surrender in days. What seemed blocked will clear effortlessly. Chosen one, do not lose heart in this final stretch. The pressure you feel is not collapse. It is transition. Sometimes the atmosphere grows tense right before the shift. Stay steady, stay faithful, stay ready. Because when this breakthrough arrives, you will not have to convince anyone. It will speak for itself, and you will finally understand nothing was wasted, nothing was random, nothing was delayed without reason. It was all leading to a moment that no force can stop. And when it happens, you will know this was destined, chosen one. Before you were ever aware of the battles around you, I marked you. Before the rejection, before the misunderstanding, before the silent tears and lonely seasons, you were marked. Not for harm, but for purpose. You wondered why life seemed unusually intense for you, why opposition appeared early, why your path felt heavier than those around you. It is because you carry something uncommon. You are guarded in ways you cannot always see. There were accidents that almost happened, but didn't. Decisions you almost made, but were redirected from. Environments you almost entered, but doors closed at the last moment. You called it frustration. It was protection. Not everything you lost was meant to stay. Not everyone who left was meant to remain. Not every opportunity that disappeared was meant to mature. I was guarding your assignment. You are not walking through life unshielded. There is intention around you. There is preservation over you. There is covering you did not earn but were given. You survived things that should have broken you. Not because you are lucky, because you are guarded. And the reason you are guarded is because you are destined for an impact the world cannot ignore. Your presence shifts atmospheres. You may not see it fully yet, but people feel something different around you. Conviction, clarity, calm. You carry weight in your words because your journey carved depth into you. You do not speak from theory. You speak from survival. You do not lead from ego. You lead from endurance. The world does not need another loud voice. It needs grounded strength. It needs steady influence. It needs someone who has been through pressure and emerged stable. That is you. You were not preserved for comfort. You were preserved for calling. There are rooms you will enter where your story will unlock courage in others. There are conversations where your wisdom will prevent someone from giving up. There are spaces where your integrity will disrupt corruption. You are not ordinary, and you cannot live as if you are. Stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Stop questioning whether you matter. Stop doubting the weight of what you carry. If you were not significant, you would not have faced significant battles. If you were not impactful, you would not have needed such intense preparation. Everything about your journey points to magnitude, even the pain, especially the pain. Chosen one, walk with awareness, not arrogance, awareness. You are marked by purpose, guarded by intention, directed by design. Your life is not random. Your survival was not accidental. Your resilience was not self-produced. It was orchestrated. And when your moment of full visibility arrives, it will not feel forced. It will feel aligned. The world will see what I have always known. You were built to leave a mark, and nothing will be able to erase it. Listen closely now, because this is where everything starts to make sense. You thought the pain was punishment. But what if it was preparation? You thought the loss was destruction. But what if it was construction happening inside of you? You kept asking, why did I have to go through that? But I am asking you now to see what I was building while you were hurting. Every moment you thought you were breaking, I was strengthening something deeper in your spirit. The heartbreak you survived was not random. It was training your heart to love without losing your identity. The betrayal you experienced was not meaningless. It was teaching you how to see truth beyond words. The loneliness you carried was not abandonment. It was protection from environments that would have diminished your calling. You were not being abandoned in your suffering. You were being surrounded by unseen protection. There were dangers you could not see. Relationships you were not ready to carry. Opportunities that would have taken you off your path instead of leading you toward destiny. So I allowed certain things to end, not because I stopped loving you, but because I was loving the future version of you that you had not yet become. And now listen, because the intensity is rising. The pain you walked through was shaping spiritual muscle inside of you. You don't panic the way you used to. You don't break the way you once did. You don't surrender to fear like before. Something inside you is waking up. Destiny is not something that suddenly appears. Destiny is something that activates after endurance. You had to survive the pressure to recognize your strength. You had to survive the silence to hear your own spiritual authority. You had to survive opposition to understand that you are not easily moved. You are not fragile anymore. You are fortified. There are assignments waiting for you that require everything you have lived through. The wisdom you carry was not learned in comfort. It was forged in struggle. It was tested in darkness. It was refined in seasons when you thought nobody was watching. But I was watching. Every night you prayed through exhaustion. Every morning you kept going when you didn't feel strong. Every time you chose hope over despair, destiny was being activated quietly inside you. And now the shift is coming. You are starting to realize it, aren't you? The pain had purpose. The struggle had strategy. The suffering had a timeline. Nothing you experienced was wasted. You were being prepared for influence, prepared for authority, prepared for impact that will echo long after this season ends. And now, you are not just surviving your story anymore. You are stepping into the reason you survived it, chosen one. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You were never fighting alone. Everything you endured was carrying you here to this moment of clarity, strength, and spiritual awakening. The storms did not destroy you. They revealed you. The battles did not defeat you. They refined you. And even in the darkest nights when you felt unseen, I was closer than your breath, holding every broken piece of your story together. Stand up again, not with fear, but with victory in your heart, not with doubt, but with unshakable faith in what I am still building through you. Your destiny is alive. Your purpose is unstoppable. Your future is already covered in grace and power. Walk forward knowing you are marked, protected, and chosen for impact. The world will see what I placed inside you. Rise now, shine now, live boldly now. Because your story is not over. It is just beginning.